We have Kevin Williamson here. He is the deputy editor of the National Review, and Phil Kerpen is with us. He is the director of policy at Americans for Prosperity. This is a ice cream cake, and I think we should cut it right away because I'd hate to waste this with so many people starving and in Cambodia. Right. Okay, so let me. I want to go to let's see, Brian Dees.
Back to Brian. Yeah.
Brian Dees. This is a guy, America. I even made fun of him on my stage show tour because I said, this is how out of control this administration is. This is before I learned the lesson. They've just appointed somebody to restructure the American industry, the car industry, who has no experience. New York Times did a big deal on him. He's 31 years old, has no experience, even slept in his car.
Right, slept in his car. That was his claim to fame. His Honda.
Let's find out who he is now that we've done some research.
Okay.
Who is he?
Well, who is he? He's not really a left-wing ideologue. He's a rich kid playing progressive.
Okay.
You know,
all right.
Is what he is. He's this kid whose parents are college professors. He's from Middlebury College.
Yeah.
He was a sort of a hack on the Hillary campaign. He's worked for the Center of American Progress, which is sort of the great nexus of left-wing hackery in the United States, which is another one of these Soros and Sandler supported outfits.
Yeah.
And his two big influences, I guess, have really been Gene Sperling, who's this kind of sort of neo-progressive old FDR-style guy who was part of the Clinton administration, is working in the Obama administration, and Nancy Birdsall, who's kind of one of these internationalists.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, he has written a couple of books with these people. For instance, Birdsall. He wrote the book Delivering on Debt Relief.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the point of that one?
Well, I mean, that's basically has to do with implementing these UN millennial goals, which include things like, third world debt relief and things like that, which are, I mean, that's not such a big deal. That's kind of a normal thing. But also a lot of these, sort of wacky, rewriting of family law everywhere to erase any sort of, sex distinctions in the law. Changing relationships between children and their parents under the law.
Right, that's like the family, the Rights of the Child Act.
Yeah, what's really interesting is one of Birdsall's other books, which I was reading this morning, which is about economic development and what's called distributive justice, which is one of those terms always to look out for.
Yeah.
But, in the course of the book, she, and I found this really surprising, explicitly rejects the idea of equality of opportunity. And makes the argument that that simply isn't enough, that some people lose the birth lottery, as she put it, and therefore we need essentially an endless program of income redistribution, affirmative action, and things like that for people who aren't born as well off as some other people. Right. Of course, the ironic thing is we've got all these Ivy League kids whose parents were partners at Goldman Sachs lecturing us about people who aren't born very well off.
Yeah, no, I know. Okay, so now let me switch gears. And Phil, let me bring you in on something else. I've discovered this great little thing called the Apollo Project that we've been talking about here, and it's just, boy, it's like a candy store that just never stops giving, just candy everywhere. I just want to go through this with you. Help me out. The Apollo Project was started by the Tides Foundation. If you remember Van Jones, he's our green job czar, right?
That's right.
He is the avowed communist. He was into social justice, which helped me out. Social justice basically is just code word for
taking money from someone and giving it to somebody else.
That's all it is. What was it you said about the lottery? They lost
the birth lottery.
Lost the birth lottery. That's social justice for you. You'll hear about social justice and our soon-to-be confirmed Supreme Court justice talk a lot about social justice. Yeah. But then he went to prison, became a communist, and then he decided, hey, if we could just get the green movement and the unions and the social justice people together, we could control the world, right?
He said it was the grand unified theory of progressive politics. And
got it.
That's what they're doing with Apollo.
So he goes in and he helps start Apollo. Now, Apollo, so you know, America, Apollo are the people that wrote the stimulus package. Tell me if I'm wrong here. Also helped write cap and trade.
Exactly right on both counts. I do want to add one thing, Glenn. I noticed that the Apollo people were very angry last week that we didn't mention that they also have business support.
Yeah.
So there are some businesses. Google, which gives 95% Democratic, also a big supporter of the Apollo Alliance. Pacific Gas and Electric, California Utility. So they have some big business money as well, not surprising.
Let me tell you something, America. They actually wrote, the Apollo didn't disagree with anything we said last week. They actually wrote to complain that we didn't include their business cronies. Like that makes it better that they've got giant global business involved too. Here's a theory that I have, and I want to see if you guys agree with this. Brian Deese, he comes up with the cash for clunkers, right? He's the guy who comes up with cash for clunkers. He sells it. Cash for clunkers. Okay? What is cash for clunkers? Cash for clunkers is destruction of property. That's all it is. It's destruction of assets. Yeah. It is also redistributing wealth. It's taking money from me, giving it to the government, then taking it to somebody who can't afford a new car, giving it to them. So you have social justice. You also have a second bailout for all of the auto industries, helping our union buddies by getting all that money in there. It's also the green movement. Gee, and how is Brian Deese connected to the Apollo Alliance? He's connected to the Apollo Alliance because he's also with Podesta. So this is so unbelievably transparent.
Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing is that they're doing all of this in the open. They're putting people in the administration like Van Jones, like Brian Deese. Podesta is obviously very influential with the administration. SEIU, which is one of the major partners in the Apollo Alliance, is in to see the White House regularly on health care on an almost daily basis. It's all right in front of us.
Who is this?
Phil Angelides is the chairman of the Apollo Alliance. He's the leader of this great effort. He was formerly the treasurer of the state of California from 1999 to 2007. So he's part of the great team that brought us the current California situation. And he also ran against Arnold and lost. He made his money as a developer, developing green communities, new urbanism, walkable communities. You know, you can't drive narrow streets, that kind of thing. And now he's got a company that retrofits buildings. So he stands to make quite a fortune if something like Cap and Trade.
That's fantastic. And it's fantastic. He's also the head of the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission. Congress has just put him, the former Treasury of California and head of Apollo, as the guy who's going to tell us how the hell our economy fell apart. Well, the guy in California would be the guy to do it. Unfortunately, he's also into the unions, green movement, and social justice. This is the head. This is the head. This is at least a main player of what's going on in America. And let me tell you something. I believe, America, this is probably the biggest, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the beginning, this is the portal into all of this. This is the biggest story in history. It is a hijacking of our republic. Yes or no?
Absolutely.
I think you're right, and the amazing thing to me is that they're so brazen. You've got Center for American Progress saying that the real people who are protesting town halls, they're fake, they're phony, but Center for American Progress with George Soros money, with Apollo Alliance high arrested, they're real.
That's why they don't see people on the streets as real people, because there are no real people doing this stuff. Yeah. This is gigantic money. And let me tell you something, America. Nobody is doing this stuff on television. I don't know why. This is the biggest story in American history. It is a hijacking of our country. Maybe you should ask the other news sources all around why their networks aren't covering this. Why is nobody doing this? Why is nobody looking into this? Why is no one asking the question? Maybe it just turns out to be just phantoms. I don't know. But it sure doesn't seem right. Maybe somebody should start asking questions. Now, I'm going to ask questions of the AARP, universal health care. It's really, really bad for one group. Wait until you hear the connections on this one. Bad for the elderly. So why is the AARP supporting it? They're on next.
Glenn Beck is brought to you by the UPS Store, mailbox services, and a whole lot more.